Hi, I'm Bobby Angel with Ascension Presents, and I want to talk to you today about the virtue of fortitude. So fortitude is one of the classical virtues, and we looked at faith, hope, and love as these theological virtues. So these really gifts of God, but a virtue is that excellent habit. And fortitude, from the time of the ancient Greeks, they understood like the importance of courage, of strength. But fortitude goes a little further. Like, it's not just being able to lift heavy things. It's not just being bold and brash. It's being able to withstand obstacles. And especially for the Christian, we hold fortitude up because it's the ability to withstand little and large obstacles so that I can share the gospel day in, day out. So if we look in the Catechism of the Catholic Church, paragraph number 1808 says that it's the moral virtue that ensures firmness in difficulties and constancy in the pursuit of good. It strengthens the resolve to resist temptations and to overcome obstacles in the moral life. We conquer fear. We conquer even the fear of death. Like, death, where is your sting? Death, you have no final say over me. Through inconveniences, small and large in this life, I have my eyes fixed on Christ and the life to come. So for us, day in, day out, we exhibit fortitude when there's uncomfortable, maybe conversations at work I don't want to deal with. I want to rather avoid that I meet that challenge head on. So virtue, again, is a mean between the extremes. And so too much kind of, it looks brash. It looks like I run into battle without adequate protection. And then not enough fortitude, the lack of it is cowardice. And no one wants to be on that side of it. So it's knowing like also there's a time to be strong, to be bold, and to speak out for my loved ones, for strangers and the weak and the oppressed, and especially to stand and preach the gospel, even in times of discomfort.
You will all fall away because of me tonight. What?
No, we won't.
As Zechariah said, I will strike the shepherd, and the sheep of the flock will be scattered. But after I am raised up, I will go before you to Galilee.
Even if they all fall away from you, I will never fall away.
Simon, behold.
Simon?
Satan demanded to have all of you, that he might sift you like wheat. But I have prayed for you specifically, that your faith may not fail. And when you have returned, strengthen your brothers.
I don't know what you're talking about. Satan want to sift us and all that. But I swear to you on my Ima's grave, I'm ready to go with you, both to prison and to death.
Peter, I am giving you all these warnings about what's coming tonight and moving forward, so that when it all happens, you know it was part of God's plan, and that I am who I say I am. And I'm telling you, even you, the rooster will not crow this day until you deny 3 times that you even know me.
No. Even if I must die with you, I will not deny you.
No Lord but God to the death.
I would die with you too. I would die for you. I would die for you. I would die for you.
We would all die for you, Master.
Greater love has no one than this, that someone lay down his life for his friends.
And that's what we'll have to do.
That's what I will do.
Hi, my name is Father Mike Schmitz, and this is Ascension Presents. So recently I was having a conversation with a man. I was on the Called podcast, initiated by the Catholic Initiative, but sponsored by Ascension. And so I get to sit down with people who are being the hands and feet, the face and heart of Jesus wherever they find themselves. In a lot of these conversations, the people are Christian, but they're not always necessarily Catholic. And so I'm bringing this up because we got some feedback. And the feedback is this, that in the course of the conversation with this one particular individual who does amazing work, around the world in just helping people, I wanted to know his story. And And so I asked him, tell me your story. In the course of it, he talked about, not being Catholic. And he almost claimed to say, like, we have different kind of varieties of Christianity. And it's really great that we have so many different varieties of Christianity. And I didn't really engage it in the sense of like starting to debate the fact that we're divided, right? The fact that, well, no, I don't think that that's good. I think that when Jesus prayed at the Last Supper, Father, may they all be one as you and I are one. Jesus actually wants unity. He doesn't want this division that we experience right now. The comment was, Father, you needed to say something right then. He was saying something that we don't believe. We believe that we should have unity, and that division is actually not just varieties, these are not just your different flavors of ice cream, like your different kind of denominations of Christianity, as if just kind of like, oh, it's great, variety, spice of life, that kind of situation. I should have said something and challenged him on this. And I would say, okay, great. I don't disagree. I don't disagree that there are times when someone makes a comment and it's like, no, it's our job in that moment to be able to say, well, pause on that for a second. What do we mean? And push back a little bit. In this case, I didn't. In this case, I kind of just acknowledged what he had said and moved on. Even at the moment, I thought, wait, should I say something right now? And then I thought, okay, well, the point of this conversation that we're having on the Called podcast was to hear about his corporal works of mercy, right? The way in which he has discovered that God is calling him to be the hands and feet, the heart and face of Jesus in the world. And so because that was the point of the conversation, I thought, well, I'll let it slide and we'll move on. Some people would say, Father, you did the wrong thing. You had the opportunity to do a spiritual work of mercy, which is to instruct the ignorant, but you didn't. Maybe you could have said something as simple as, well, we might disagree on that, but let's move on. I could have even at least said that, as opposed to kind of, okay. The reason why I'm highlighting this is because we've all been in situations like that, right? We've all been in conversations with somebody and they say something and you think, should I step up? Should I speak up right now? Should I offer that word of correction? Should I instruct someone who doesn't know? And you don't do it. And other times here on this podcast on Century Presents, I have said, a lot of times we don't do it because we're lacking in something. We're lacking in courage. This was the time to speak, but I didn't have the courage to speak. We're lacking in knowledge. I didn't know what to say, or we're lacking in love. Like that, since I don't care enough to speak. In this case, I think it was the middle one. Like I don't know. I didn't know. Is this when I speak, or is this when I don't speak? Is this when I just allow this person to tell their story without me interrupting them, or should I have said something as simple as, well, we disagree on that. I might see it differently, but let's move on. When it comes to relationships, when it comes to sharing the gospel, when it comes to just living in this world, we won't have all the answers. There are many times when I'm not sure. Should I have said something or done something? I've been processing this for a long time now, a bit of time since that conversation happened. And I had all my excuses. Well, I didn't know, or the conversation was headed in a certain direction and went interrupted. And here's what I had to do. What I had to do is I had to go into prayer. I had to bring it to the chapel. I had to be in front of Jesus and say, okay, Lord, I think I know that if you were calling me to say something, I would have said something. I think that in that moment, I wanted to let this man tell his story without interrupting him. What do you think, Lord? What is your perspective, Lord? And a funny thing happened. In the course of that prayer, a lot of my arguments, here's my reasons, here's why I did this, here's why I did that, here's why I didn't do something. The arguments didn't seem to matter too much anymore. So my defensiveness, no, I didn't do the wrong thing, kind of like, my defensiveness I got to put it to the side and instead just say, yeah, Lord, I might have done the wrong thing. It's possible that I should have said something, but I want to learn moving forward. I want to be able to say something if you want me to say something. Coming before the Lord in prayer is the key. There's so much about ourselves that we will never know unless we place ourselves before Jesus in the Eucharist and say, God, please show me. Did I do the wrong thing? Did I not do the right thing? And then just let that defensiveness be diffused and just receive his guidance, receive his will, receive his wisdom. Archbishop Flynn was the Archbishop of St. Paul, Minneapolis, the diocese down there, archdiocese. And my last year in seminary, maybe I shared this with some of you before, my last year in seminary, he took all the guys in my class over to his we and we had a holy hour and we were going to have a dinner. And before a holy hour ended, he paused. We paused in his chapel. And he said, gentlemen, making a holy hour is absolutely necessary. He said, when you become a priest, you have to make a daily holy hour. Because in the life of a priest, there's going to be so much busyness. There's so many times where you said something you shouldn't have said, or you did something you shouldn't have done, or you didn't say something or didn't do something you should have said or should have done. In so many ways, that's what happened here. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. What should I have done? Was it the right thing? Was it a neutral thing? Was it the wrong thing? Lord, if I bring it before you, it's your thing. And from now on, I get to surrender it to you and move on. Anyways, for all us here to Ascension Presents, my name's Father Mike. God bless.
It's a question I like to ask people all the time. And that question is, are you holy? Now, I can't see through the camera. I can't see if you're raising your hand, shaking your head, yes or no. But based on past experience, my guess is that the vast majority of you say no. And this is tragic. This is so unfortunate because our church reminds us time and again that we all have a universal call to holiness, that we all are holy by virtue of being sons and daughters of God. But I can hear it now. I know what people say. They say, brother, if you knew who I was, if you knew what I did, you would not think that I'm holy. And I get that. I hear that. But I also think it misunderstands what holiness truly is. Because when we say that we're holy, it's less about us and has everything to do with God. When we say that we're holy, we're not saying that I'm good or I'm perfect, but that God is good and God is perfect. And that God chooses to dwell in us so that when we go out into the world knows God through us. That is what holiness means. It means being open to that capacity of letting God's presence flow through us. And in this way, we not only all have the capacity, but we all are holy to some extent. By being creatures of God, we give an image of God. The first is that we need to ask. We need to ask boldly for the Lord to make us holy. We see in our gospel reading the story of the blind man. Sitting by the side of the road, he can't see Jesus coming, but he can hear him. He knows that he's coming with the crowd. And so he shouts, Jesus, Son of David, have pity on me. And Jesus comes to him and he says, what do you ask of me? I ask for sight. And Jesus gives it to him. He says, your faith has saved you. What a wonderful opportunity Jesus gives us each and every day in prayer, in the Eucharist, that we have that direct access to him, that we can go and pray and say, Lord, this is what I need. This is what I want. Unfortunately, I think that most of us don't even want to be holy. I think we pray like St. Augustine did before his conversion, and we say, Lord, make me chaste, yes, but just not yet. We're afraid of the burden that it might give us, that we might have to change our lives a little bit. But if we truly want to be holy, if we want to walk in the path of Jesus, we need to go to him. We need to ask him and expect and trust that he will give us what we need. We need to ask for it. The second thing we need to do is that we need to be patient and persistent. We enter the story of the blind man kind of in the middle. How long do you think he's been sitting there? Days, months, years? He could have very easily given up along the way. He could have very easily said, well, God doesn't love me, and I'll just give up. But he doesn't. And even when the disciples get in his way, even after he shouts and they tell him to be quiet, to not bother the master, he doesn't give up. He says it again, Jesus, Son of David, have pity on me. Over and over, he pushes those voices out. He says with persistence that I want this. I want to be close to Jesus. I want to be healed. We can look at the same thing in the first reading. We see a people in exile. How long? Days, months, years, generations they've been away. And it would have been very easy for them to lose faith, to think that God does not love them, that God doesn't hear their prayers. But they stayed fast. They stayed with their faith. They stayed holy, trusting that God would answer their prayers eventually. And it was those who stayed with God, those who kept patience, that were rejoicing at the end. Some may have left, but it took patience to be rejoicing. For us, we need to be able to say yes over and over again, to go to God and ask the question over and over again, to realize that conversion doesn't just happen overnight. That in fact, sometimes God may be answering our prayers, but we can't see it. That sometimes we're taking very small steps, even if we can't see it. We need to have patience, not only with God, but with ourselves. Sometimes we may not be ready for the conversion. Sometimes we need a whole lifetime of saying yes before it actually clicks. We need patience and we need persistence. Don't give up on this path to holiness if it doesn't click on the first day. I think of all the times that I've sinned, all the times I went to confession and thought, yes, this is the new path. And then there I was again, 2 weeks, a month, 2 months later, committing the same sin. Conversion doesn't happen all at once. We need persistence. We need patience and trust in our God. And finally, maybe most importantly, we need to get up and start living. When we look at the man who's blind, we look at how he has sight given back to him. We wonder, what did he do immediately afterwards? Did he go and say, oh, I've missed so much, I need to go see the sights of the world. I need to test these eyes first to make sure that they work. Was he hesitant? Was he thinking about himself? No. The very first thing he did, it says he immediately went and followed Jesus. How amazing it is that he took the gift that God had given him and immediately gave it back to the world, immediately lived in the holiness that was given him. So often, I think we spend all of our time thinking about the right path, wondering if we're making the right decision, worried that we might be making the wrong one. And don't get me wrong, discernment is important. Prayer is essential. But if we spend our entire times in the chapel, if we spend our entire time thinking about what we might do, we end up spending our entire time doing nothing. Sometimes we need to put one foot in front of the other, and we need to trust. We may not know where we're going, but we know who we're following. If Jesus is along the way, we don't need to know the destination. We just need to put one foot in front of the other. Because ultimately, this is the path to holiness. Holiness is not something to be thought. It's not something to be discerned. It's something to be lived. We need to go out into the world and be an example, to be a witness to what God is transforming in us, even when we're not complete, even when we're still a little unconstructed. We need to realize that each and every moment is a moment to live with Jesus. And this is what holiness is. And so I ask you again, are you holy? Are you willing to have that capacity to let Jesus live in you? Are you willing to take one foot and put it in front of the other each and every day to grow in holiness? I ask you to take these things seriously, to ask the Lord to make you holy, to be patient and persistent, and to go out and start living. This is the call that each and every one of us has. May God grant you his peace.